Welcome back to Let's Do It, Nino Kuni. We're about to be trampled.
I like that breathe stream. Ah! Ah!
Huh?
And I'm here this time too.
Hey, wait for me!
Yep. And from here on out, it's going to be properly commentated. Just couldn't do it with that first part.
So this is...
But now we can. We can laugh at Drippy and his hilarious accent, and Oliver's hilarious acting.
You better put up subtitles, holy boy, because this gets really hard because I talk really fast.
Yeah, I love that the subtitles actually follow his accent.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I remember when I first played this game, I decided to try it with the Japanese track, and I could not keep up with the subtitles. I felt so awful.
Where did he spring from?
Oh, puppy!
He's not like the big softies just now. He's itching for a fight. Proper savage.
Let's run away!
No, you
So that, what was the accent of his again? Welsh?
Welsh, yeah. My cousin thought it was Scottish.
Look lively, he's making his move.
I like that. He's making his move.
Alright, time for combat. This is one of the main selling points of Ni no Kuni. It's a JRPG where you are active in the combat. And of course, this being a JRPG, it's going to hold your hand all the way through. Drippy's going to pretty much tell you everything that I would normally tell you, but since you came here to listen to me, I'm going to say it anyway. What you do is, down at the bottom, you'll see Oliver's head, and he has some speech bubbles around them. Using either the left-right D-pad or just the shoulder buttons, you can alternate to defense, attack, your items, and what have you. When you press attack, Oliver goes into sort of automatic attack mode for a short period of time. And he'll basically just run up, whack enemies with a stick. Later on, we'll be able to get spells, which you will use from this menu. Spells, attack, defense, all has recharge times. As you can see right there. It tends to recharge relatively quickly. If I were to drop out of attack, I would have to wait for it to recharge, or I can just keep attacking and let it go through. What I like about that first fight is the monster literally just sits and takes it.
The one thing that also they kind of show early on this game is that you're not going to be really dependent on you actually doing the physical attacks. Really, none of the characters, the main characters at least, have any physical attack prowess whatsoever. So, especially Ollie, who just has a stick.
Where are we going?
So that kind of introduces the future mechanic that is kind of a dependence on it. It helps to keep you from just using Oliver in a way, because Oliver does get really powerful. So
yeah, he does.
There are situations where obviously he's not going to be the best solution about it. So the mechanic they'll introduce later, the Pokemon-esque mechanic, it definitely will help.
Yes, which we will see in this video.
Well, if we're very lucky, we might find a wand with a bit more oomph down by there.
So I just want to say ahead of time, and I beat this game.
Really so hard to find here?
Drippy's rather useless.
Time was you couldn't move for the flipping things.
He's good for the voice, but I think he's just kind of the butt end of every joke. And he falls down all the time.
Which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
He scared them all so much they gave it up.
I do like how he just constantly insults Oliver.
Well, he turned me into a flipping doll, didn't he?
And because he's just a straightforward kid, he's like, okay.
Still, I'd rather be a
Poor
doll than
Oliver,
having
no
rope
personality.
poking round in my heart.
He really is
Once
rather
broken
personality-less.
Well, he's like 8.
Hearted?
Kids that age don't have personalities.
Worse than that, much worse. It's when
Much
he
worse, they
steals
give you
a
one
person's
tiny arm and one regular
heart.
sidearm.
Poor beggars don't know whether they're alive or dead. That's no way to live, man.
So that's why they're all so scared of him, huh?
You know, the subtitles follow his accent, but only slightly.
Yeah.
Well, it's not a matter of letting
That was
him,
more
is it?
like
It's not like people flipping enjoy
UGH,
it.
mun.
That's why I brought you here, innit? You
I didn't
might
realize
just be able
mun
to
was
stop
really
it,
a
see?
Welsh thing to say, unless that's just something added for this character.
Course you can.
I think
You're
it's
the
just for this
pure-hearted
character.
one. And
I follow a lot
legends
of
say that
British
the
TV, and they
pure-hearted will
have
drive
some,
away the
like the
darkness.
occasional Welsh comedian. They
Be ready to face him in no
they
time.
don't say
Sound
anything
good
that
to you?
Drippy says.
Okay.
I was saying, is like,
I'll
is this
do it.
vaguely
I'll
Jamaican?
learn
Hello,
magic.
mum.
Of course you will. And that's why we need to find you a better wand.
All right.
The funny
Let's
thing
have
is
a
that this
ding-dong
entire
dell.
time, Drippy is always just like, obviously, we gotta use this spell to do this, and Oliver's just like, I'm a kid. He's like, you're stupid, Ollie boy! Like, this entire thing is always like that. Well, obviously, you need to be able to use the magic spell to move the broom around. Well, how was I supposed to know that? You're an idiot!
Poor Oliver just gets no breaks.
This does also, one thing I like is they take kind of the map approach of something like a Tales of game, where you can actually see the characters approach. You can choose whether to attack them. You usually don't want to let them attack you from behind. But they also give you this idea that you can see the enemy. There's no randomly spontaneous combat. You're not just walking around and go, oh god, I have to fight something.
Yeah.
I think nowadays it's become unacceptable. It's just an older RPG tribe, I suppose. This does have that very good feel of that Tales of game. And also the combat feels vaguely of that of Eternal Sonata, is another RPG they had. The mechanics of light and darkness aren't the same, but the idea of the picking your times and utilizing that system's very similar to that. I'm starting to have my JRPG knowledge show up right now, so I might be a knowledge pool this time, which is great.
No, I've only played a handful of JRPGs, but even just finding any JRPG that isn't random encounters and just turns is still very refreshing to me. I've tried to get into Final Fantasy, and every attempt has failed.
There's one thing, I mean, I can tell you the first thing I fell over this game is the music, because the music is just gorgeous.
It's fantastic. Every piece of music is orchestrated.
See, we had an opportunity right there to approach him from behind. That usually does give you a slight buffer of attack time to where they can't defend themselves or attack you. That sometimes helps a lot, especially if you're doing level grinding, because you don't want to waste too much health or magic, so always take opportunities to things like that.
The buffer is usually around one attack recharge cycle.
Which, if you're depending on the way you're fighting. So this guy's actually casting a spell in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
It feels so weird to just have this kid beating a bird with a stick. Oh, that was exhausting killing that thing.
No, I will be editing out a lot of fights, usually where we come across a monster that we've seen before, or where just nothing interesting happens. And also in cases like this, where I'm just exploring the world, going to places we've already been to find items. I'll be editing those out. Around the world map, you'll find these little glimmers in the ground. Those are usually just stuff you can find, and we don't get any use out of them right now, but a little bit later, they'll become very important for crafting items.
You'll also run into, especially early on, there's a number of side missions that are required to say, oh, I left this thing over here, or I need to find these particular items, so if you get them ahead of time, it does save you a little bit of a trip.
Which I do.
And we're in Ding Dong Dell! And look, it's a spell of some kind. Which honestly I wish they maybe utilized in some kind of motion use, like maybe using the right stick, but oh well.
Thinking about it, that would have gotten old.
Probably.
The only time you ever see Oliver actually draw out a spell is when he's doing Gateway in the opening.
Brokenheartedness?
Some of the other ones later, but they're just there for cinematic purpose.
That's right. The broken-hearted
For the most part.
And since we were talking over kind of a plot point, the evil baddie named Shadar takes the hearts out of people of certain feelings. In this case, let's believe enthusiasm, I think.
Yeah.
So, in a way, part of your job and one of your magic spells that earn you experience and earn you items and stuff like that would be restoring people's hearts. So, which is not a difficult task.
No, it's one of the main side quest missions that we get as well.
There's actually a side quest where you continually run into this one couple in every town that has every heartbroken problem ever.
Every single one.
And you get frustrated. It's like, how did you piss off Shadar this many times?
Yeah, it almost falls apart when you think about that, because Shadar is the one who breaks the hearts.
Yeah, it's not like you just do it on your own. You just have to walk up into Shadar's like, oh, for fuck's sake, you guys again.
And they're just traveling merchants. What are they doing? We'll see them later. It is kind of funny. And sad. But when you press R1, you're able to pull up the main map. The main map pretty much tells you everything you need to do. Like, in some cases, if we were to go exploring, looking for specific monsters, we would see them on the map as dots.
We can do this.
Hey, look, an Ouroboros.
Ouroboros, it's a snake eating itself.
See, it's a little silly to fight these things with your stick, but as I said, Oliver gets really powerful, and honestly, like some of the later fights, especially against big, powerful, mean bosses, I just exclusively used Oliver.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's another thing that, another aspect of the combat. Missing is actually based on not getting hit by the enemy. Hitting an enemy more or less will register an attack. It's not just randomly missing. If that does come up, usually it means like you did so badly it did no damage.
And also, a really important part, especially later in the game where it becomes key, is knowing when to block and when to attack.
Mm-hmm. And when to just flat out get out of the way.
Oh yeah.
I do show in a little bit, if not in this video, in the next one, eventually I show off how defending works. And that blocks damage somewhat, but it won't block all damage. And when some enemies attack in a very specific way in a specific direction, you want to completely avoid defending and run out of the way. It's important to know the difference.
And also, you might notice when you hit the enemy, that blue orb fell out. You'll end up seeing a number of orbs, either blue or green. And a later one that's yellow, but there's going to be points that, especially some of the tougher fights, if you can manage to get those out of the enemy, are pretty useful. They'll heal you, they'll get you more magic to cast more spells, and so on and so forth.
In some of the tougher bosses I've found, it's actually really necessary to knock them out of them, because I've run out of magic and magic restoring items pretty quickly. And when you defend against their strong attacks, usually you can get the little things out of them. They're called glims. And it almost becomes key to knock them out. Here's how defend works. And you can see, when their attacks are weak, sometimes they'll completely miss. But when it becomes that, you want to defend.
Yeah, usually when they're casting spells, they won't miss.
Yeah.
Like they give you some free warning. And of course, if you noticed, Mr. Drippy's not helping too much here. That bastard.
That's the provisions. It's basically just healing items that you can pull out. You can also use those items when you're out on the man map, but it's important to have them on hand during the fight as well.
This game, I have to admit, takes a lot of patience on the early going, because it's a hold your hand situation like this that can make an experienced RPGer really frustrated at points. Because obviously, the really only attack you have is a little smack with a stick and block. But the game definitely adds its complexities once we enter this first arbitrary RPG forest. But I see he's collecting spring water. I think one of the side missions requires you to collect so much spring water, so it's good he's doing it now.
We use spring water for a number of things. It's just their use has become available only progressively throughout the game. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the case for a lot of these early items. You don't get use for them until much later. So it's easy to not collect them now and then realize much later you have to come back here to get them.
One thing I really liked about this game is that a lot of people, especially something that's improved in these last generations of systems, is a lot of people have been trying to find that good blend of a cel-shaded adventure in gaming to kind of give it that anime-esque look. And this one gives a combination of a very smooth version of the animation, plus almost a hand-painted look of the backgrounds. If you go to places like a lot of towns and stuff, they have this very much a oil painting mosaic look to them, and they're gorgeous. Makes all the backgrounds very vivid in color and very detailed, but still your characters have that very distinct anime fluid style to them that made Miyazaki famous.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there's your first little save stone thingamabob, and there's also a sewer grate for some reason. It introduces the most creepy character ever.
Yep.
But it's not for a while now, so...
No, we don't properly meet him till much later. Up until then, I was terrified by him. On the subject of Studio Ghibli being the art directors behind this, Miyazaki was not involved. But that doesn't mean they don't cram a shit ton of references to his movies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, beyond his creative direction, it's still there.
Yeah, it feels like a Miyazaki movie, but that's because it's Studio Ghibli. Is it Ghibli or Ghibli?
Ghibli.
Ghibli.
Oh, that's
moving.
That was weird. See, you know what's great about this thing? This could be seen as just an arbitrary forest, but listen to the music in this area. It's absolutely amazing.
I do think this music gets reused, though.
It does.
Pretty much every piece of music, save for some of the town music, gets reused later, especially in dungeons and mini dungeons like this.
NPC voices get reused too.
Mm-hmm.
I'll walk by the same cat person and be like, I need to purchase something. I'm like, oh wow.
Wait for me.
I can never understand what they're saying.
What a loser.
Yeah. We're getting way ahead of ourselves. We haven't even been to Ding Dong Dell yet.
This is the dorkiest fucking thing in the forest.
How do, you leafiness?
Dog tree.
I'm a penguin beach, or whatever they call these.
Penguinent?
Yeah,
A penguint.
A penguint, I like
I
it.
was wondering if you might lend us a bit of a hand.
Perhaps quack.
I should have known. You only ever come to see me when you are in need.
Sorry,
And
your
ironically, the
Lordship. You know I'm
penguin
always
tree helps you
thankful.
more than Drippy ever does.
Yeah.
This boy,
And at the start of the game.
Oh yeah.
Your bark ship.
There's something adorable about Drippy though, oddly enough.
he who will drive out the darkness.
Ugly yet kind of adorable.
Did he nod with his nose?
That's right, your ancient
His
ship
nose
will
has a lot
give
more
Sir
character
Dara
than his
right to
eyes,
our
obviously.
You?
Drippy never changes expression.
As reckless as ever, I see.
I wonder if they used any kind of famous actor to play that tree.
Oh no, I looked through the cast list. I couldn't recognize anyone.
You shall have my aid. But first,
In fact, the thing with Oliver and quite a lot of characters being shitty actors is, as Travis pointed out to me, Studio Ghibli has an, like, when they're dubbing in English, they have a tendency to hire child actors, and children can't act.
It's a combination of hiring children actors and also letting Disney hire actors to garner more attention for their films. So a lot of them have these very odd choices in actors. One of my favorites Hayao Miyazaki film was Princess
Can I
Mononoke.
really do it?
And just looking at the cast list alone will just make you go, what the hell were they
Sure I
thinking?
do.
They had Billy Bob Thornton as a character in an anime.
And I haven't seen that movie. I've seen bits of it, and I think I know the character he plays. I think I saw the one scene he was in.
And oddly enough, he's one of the better people in the group. But still, there's just a lot of people just like, I'm acting. Great.
I'm famous.
I think the last one they made, Ponyo, had like Selena Gomez and shit in it like that. And I'm like, oh, you just all this. Okay, I'm pointing out something that does make me laugh about this tree. He keeps like a bunch of his like supplies just in his branches. He just wiggles like, here's something that fell off of me.
Here's my magic dandruff.
So this is here's the funny thing. This is the first spell you've received this far, except for maybe Gateway. You get a lot of them. You only maybe use 3.
Yeah. I get use out of them occasionally. It just depends. I think this is the only time we use this one, though.
This does introduce the very cool mechanic.
And a just damn awesome little creature. I love this guy.
Yeah, never get rid of him. That's my word of advice.
I never do.
What's this?
It's eating my soul.
Look at that, a warrior from your very own heart, a familiar.
Look at how cute that is.
Look, the guy is fucking adorable.
I love when you feed him chocolate.
Yeah.
He just goes, yeah! And you're like, oh my god, hug you!
Thanks a lot, jerk. I love this.
Ouch! That was mean, Trick.
Just so blank and stoic when he did it too.
It was right at the moment I knew, I love you.
You'll be mine forever.
So this is a mite. This is our first familiar. We're able to collect more familiars much later. Not for a little while. We need to get someone who can actually attract familiars and do the whole proper Pokemon thing. But for now, we've got a mite, and that's really all we need. Now, I'm trying to think of a name for him. They give you suggestions based on the type of creature he is, but I decided I want to name him something that has to do with our LPs, and he has to be a hero's name. So, of course, we've got a new Dumple.
Yeah! And Dumple will stay with us forever.
Yes.
Dump. just name some Dump.
Dumple.
Hello there, Dump! Exclamation points. Double!
Dumple! It's because when I'm recording footage, I have a bit of a delay, so...
You know what's kind of interesting about the whole... Because we mentioned kind of more the Pokemon aesthetic of it, but one thing that makes it unique is that because these creatures come from your heart, their health and magic is also linked to you as well. So you can't just let your slaves do your bidding, then die, then okay, it's my turn. If they die, you die too.
Yeah.
So you want to keep track of their health pretty well. If they start, in a situation they can't fight, always switch them out. Also, they can only stay out for a limited amount of time. So to know when to switch between your other familiars and yourself is pretty key to fights.
I like that it kind of makes them extensions of yourself.
Yeah. And also you want to find things that emphasize your own skills. So, obviously this guy has a sword, so he's going to be more of a physical fighter. But you might want to later get one that's more predominantly magic or healing or whatever you might find.
Not that I send them out to fight in place of this guy, anyway.
True.
If it's not Oliver, it's this guy.
Dumple's always going to be your kind of frontline warrior in this sense. I mean, look at him. He wears a little baby cape.
Yeah.
We needless to say these creatures are not terrifying
Spoiling for
things.
the fight, is it? Better get
No.
what he wants, Ollie
He's
boy.
just staring up at me.
There's something kind of wrong about him. Like, oh god, I'm so afraid of this baby duck. Let's go kill it.
Just think what I want him to do. Here goes.
I wish he walked up and smacked him with the sword again.
Just kicked him in the shin.
Yeah. Okay, I'll kill it, I guess.
Let's do it.
Time for our first familiar fight, and of course, Drippy's gonna tell us everything again.
And time for our most favorite phrase that comes from this. Let's do it!
Where'd you come from?
I like how he just decides to stand behind you but not help.
What Drippy does is occasionally he'll send out glims, but very, very occasionally, and never when you need them.
And never the right one either.
No.
It's like you have full health but no magic, but he'll still throw you a health one. You're like, you asshole.
Now, familiars work much the same way as Oliver does. They don't usually have spells or what have you, or like, they don't have a list. They have a very specific set of skills that they can do, and as they level up, they increase the amount of skills they can do and how many they can have set at one time. Right now, what Dumple here can do is Cut Loose. Cut Loose attacks all of the enemies on the screen at once. It's a decently strong attack, so I like to kind of, when I have a little group like this, I like to start that one off to weaken them. And some of the enemies that we've already fought out in the main fields, they die pretty much instantly to it, so it's just fun to do.
And it's a good early attack because some of the attacks follow some kind of pattern, like they go forward or to the side. This one attacks the whole field, and so it's good for when you're overwhelmed by a lot of monsters.
And we can see up in the corner the stamina slowly ticking away. Usually, when it's just these normal enemies, I don't run out of stamina, but in the case of a boss fight, well, I don't usually bring out the familiars anyway, but there will be cases where you'll want to switch them out consistently.
One really smart decision also with the whole timer thing is they give you a cancel command.
Yes.
Imagine how much of a pain in the ass it would be if this character was doing a big attack and you were stuck in an attack. So they put some thought into that at the very least.
Double!
Double!
It's facing the wrong way.
I wish you put a question mark in there. It was like, double?
I'll do that with the next familiar.
Then another Dumple. I like his little dance, too.
Yeah, dude. I just fucking love the mites.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Next time I play this game, I'm just gonna have a whole... Oh, look at the little cage!
That's fucking cute!
I know. And he's thinking about sweets. How can that not be the most adorable thing? I like feeding him. It's the cutest moments in the game. But I would like to... I mean, it would not be beneficial, but having a whole team of mites...
No.
Because you can get different types, so...
They have different types based on these kind of star signs.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually based on elements, I've noticed, because there are some, like, water enemies that are weak to fire. which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you gotta kind of experiment a bit.
Yeah, I can see Father Oak.
Oh yeah, you're here too. Can you feed me a loaf of bread? Throw it into a pond, preferably.
Shit, I can't reach that far.
It's funny if he looks back and he has water wingings. Let's go swimming. All right, we'll see you there. Aw.
I have a breaststroke like you wouldn't believe.
I like the idea that Drippy asked for help from this tree, and then as soon as the tree asked for help, he's like, "Fuck you." He's kind of an asshole. I know he is an asshole, and you will learn soon enough how much of an asshole he is.
Who, Drippy or Old Man Oak?
Old Man Oak is awesome. Drippy's an asshole.
Well, we already know that.
Yeah, it continues the train here. I like how concerned you look. Just, But now that you have an actual physical-based character like that, you'll notice that we've gotten more spells that emphasize support in Oliver's points. So we got a healing touch spell for healing HP, and we'll get some attacks as well, but he's going to definitely be much more of the caster.
I think I did get Oliver's most important spell, the Fireball, which in some boss fights, Oliver is the only character I use, period. And Fireball is the only thing I use, periods.
Yep.
It's the only thing that does decent and consistent damage.
Plus, you don't have to go up to a big boss with this little might and be like, I'm gonna win! You're like, no.
Crush.
So, as you can see, you can have a party of 3, and you can actually adjust their inventory as well, so you'll be able to buy weapons for them. In fact, a lot of the equipment seem to affect your characters here more than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You can get little bits of equipment, but there's not really much to pick from.
The items we can get, they don't reflect on the character models. They mostly just affect the stats alone.
I like how they live like on a school play.
Yeah. I don't have any sweets to feed him, but I will get them really quickly. And once I get his favorite type of sweets, which Travis mentioned is chocolate, then we'll see how the creature cage works.
And also see how cute he can possibly get.
You're piercingly cute, but cute.
Whatever, I find it cute. Of course, I find everything cute, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't judge me. We're also getting various ingredients. We have the ability to make food, which is pretty interesting. Another very feel of a Tales of game. Food mechanic for that. Although they do utilize it really well for this game, I have to admit. Because it could have been done just completely wrong. Like anything in the game, but hey. What the fuck is that, really? I've run into those so many times, I still don't even know what it is. There's something very interestingly annoying about Drippy. You like to keep him around, but there's just this whole thought process of him constantly calling himself the King of Fairies. But he doesn't really do anything.
I am the biggest shithead of them all.
I have an ego this big, that's my power. He is pretty useful at this beginning point, because although, we're, bitching on the tutorial a bit, it is very the necessity's there for sure. So obviously we wouldn't know what we're doing otherwise. This game can get complicated if you didn't know.
Yeah.
It's simple yet complicated. I like that, though. That's a good mechanic. You should have a simplicity to the overall design, but there should be a lot of thought behind what you do.
It's a nicely in-depth game.
A nicely addicting game along with that.
Yeah. We talked about that in Skyward Sword.
I do one honest wish on this. I felt like I wish some of the side missions were more in-depth, but that's just my thing. A lot of your side missions do become collection missions, but regardless, they can still be fun, and the rewards are definitely worth it.
Yeah. We will find, after we've gotten through Ding Dong Dell, then we get to the next town, we'll find the town pretty much has a recycled formula for the kinds of side missions we get. Every town has a certain amount of broken-hearted people, some monsters that are out in the outskirts that need to be killed. A lot of things like that, and it becomes a bit formulaic, but the rewards keep racking up and get progressively more awesome. So it's still worth it to do, and it's still fun. So,
and we get also those missions from the town notice board, which also help with gaining abilities later in the game. But we'll see that when we get to it.
Yeah.
But we just got some sweets. And then as you mentioned, they do have their favorite sweets, like chocolate.
The fucker ran right around me.
He did a circle. Well, see, these are not as scary for me because you can run away from enemies from hitting you. Luckily.
Yeah.
Unless he casts a spell, though. Shit.
Like that.
In retrospect, ow. But Oliver running around does become a rather useful mechanic later in the game. Sometimes it's good to run around for a while and wait things out. See, there you saw the importance of gathering magic. You see how much magic he got back from getting those little orbs.
Yeah, the cut loose attack is useful, but it uses, I think, 14 MP.
Oh, look at that face.
Luckily, every time you level up, your health and magic gets restored. And we got some cake and sundaes, so I think I've got enough stuff to feed to my little dumple here.
Just feed it to your little dumple.
Feed my little dumple.
Just dances every time you show up.
Yep.
Listen to this sound of enjoyment. I like his little dance, too. just body shake. And the reason you even feed him in the first place is you notice that as you feed them, it does boost their stats. If they eat their favorite foods, and depending on the level of the food, and that's right, I said level of the food, it affects them even stronger. Because if he just eats something he doesn't care for, it's just a small boost, but if you notice when he ate that one bar of chocolate, it gave him already a single boost to his attack. It's usually good to figure out what they eat based on their characteristics. So since he's more of a warrior type, eating something that would enhance his strength would obviously fit more of his repertoire. But one that's more of a magic base or a speed base, just keep in mind the food type that does that boost in particular.
Yeah. And chocolate correlates to attack.
Mm-hmm.
Also, feeding them their favorite type of food will boost their familiarity. This isn't that important right now, but much later on when we get much more awesome types of food that like boost their attacks and what have you, say 6 steps, that will increase their familiarity, and when that grows up, that increases the amount of stat boosts they can have at one time. The limit at the start is just 10 at once. We're already up to 3 out of 10. But when they increase familiarity, I think it also increases the amount of skills they can have at one time. So you can, along with Cut Loose, you could have, say, a fire attack along with it.
And I believe it actually stays there too, even when during later in the game when they level up higher.
Yeah.
So, it's a constant little boost that'll always be there, which is nice. Something so whiny about.
It's such a disconnect. Yep. They're a little happy.
After killing a bunch of creatures that have not been intimidating at the very least. So much white bread in a forest.
Yeah.
There's something so weird about that.
And in a chest. There's that thing again. We already killed it, so.
See, it's a game that definitely, it has its linear path, but it does explore exploration because any kind of hidden path will usually hide some kind of hidden chest or something like that.
Here goes.
And naturally, it'll be one of those chests that we can't open just yet. This little guy did an attack that makes me blind. It does what you expect, makes your accuracy just go down the toilet. But not completely, so.
It don't matter for Dumple.
Nope.
See, they're taking the Pokemon mechanic and making these creatures look so simple that it makes them cute. They're just like, I can't think.
Eyes go in different directions.
The Kara-Roten syndrome there.
Yeah. We're coming up on the boss fight.
See, also a thank God is that when you go to save spots, it also restores your HP and MP as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be strategic. You don't have to save, but it will at least heal you. You don't require to save to do it, luckily. But, you know, if you're fighting a boss, it might be a good idea. Especially since some of them in the later game could be tough. which for a kids game is really odd to say.
Yep. Coming up on our first boss fight, and I think this little scene here is hilarious. Oh no, watch out! Punch!
We gotta prove he's an asshole in 5 seconds, go.
Have him punch a little duck.
I like the idea he's a guardian, he has like Muay Thai bandages around his wrist, so he's about to do Kung Fu.
I'm sending out Dumple, but I'll quickly realize this is a job more for Oliver, because the Guardian is weak to fire attacks, and I have Fireball now, so...
Plus, he just can smack your shit around like that, so...
Yep. This is kind of how most boss fights go for me. I think switch back to Oliver, throw fireballs at them.
In some similar method when you get... See, that beeping sound means you're about to lose him. Look. After that cracks, it does give you some sort of penalty where you can't use him until he's recovered, so...
If you do pull him back before, then you can let him recharge a little bit, and then pull him back immediately.
See, the trick you learn here is that if you notice the character saying his attack on top of his head, it means you probably should block.
Yeah.
Because for one, it saves you a lot of damage, especially since some of these attacks can kill you one hit, but also, you notice there's orbs that pop up if you block that serious attack, so... Your health is too low if you need more magic. Sometimes it just behooves you to run around until he does a special attack, block, and then hope he drops some magic or something like that.
Which is basically what I was saying earlier. That's how defend becomes significant a little bit later.
See, we did that there's some magic orbs popped out, but this guy likes to do this a lot, so...
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's frustrating sometimes is you spend so much time blocking sometimes that the orb you really need disappears.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
I like this idea that he Miso blocks and he loses his confidence. Aww, I just can't do it.
This happens for most boss fights. There'll be some case where they've done a big attack, and either they've missed or something, and they've tired themselves out. Drippy says this is the point to give him a big walloping, but really it's just... It gives you only a few extra seconds when it comes down to factoring in how long it takes to attack, how long it takes to recharge, how long it takes to defend. And this is fucked up. I lost my special attack right there.
Yeah, the gold orbs actually give you a special attack, which you got to pick timing on because, for one, you can't block when you have the special orb, so you better use it immediately. But it's usually some kind of high level attack, either attack or sometimes even things like healing marks. But in the case of Oliver, it's the same thing. But when you get some of the familiars, if they manage to get the gold orb, they have different versions of that. Some of them get healing abilities, some of them get special attacks of different elements, so experiment.
Some of them are absolute shit.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, those familiars are going to be the ones who go after the gold limb.
Or someone else's gets it, and you're like, you bastard, I was going for it.
Yeah.
You damn penguin.
The gold glims also completely refill your health, so it's just nice to grab them anyway.
The other thing I'm disappointed is that, for all the badassness that Oliver gets, his gold orb one is not that impressive.
Oh, it works pretty damn good for me.
Yeah, it's just when some of the other characters get him, they're just so much more powerful. Although it is a way to win fights sometimes. It's just to dodge around until you see a gold orb, blast him with the big attack, run around until you get a gold orb, blast him.
Make sure your friends are dead so they don't grab it.
Sometimes it's a strategy. You need your friends to die.
Yeah.
Be my martyr. Of course, it'll never happen to Mr. Drippy. He never gets involved.
No.
Which is probably a blessing. If you notice, I really don't have any positive things to say about Mr. Drippy.
We don't like Drippy.
No. He had good opportunity, but they kind of squandered it.
Another cool thing about the game is it has a lot of supplemental material in the game itself. It doesn't really factor into the story. It's just occasionally the Wizard Companion will get little stories that you can read in it, and they kind of add to the world around you. Like, in the case of Tales of Wonder or what have you, they're basically just fairy tales. But they're cool little stories to read, and
I'm sure if you ask
Even
him
if they don't
nicely,
really have any involvement in the world itself, it does help to give this world, this little magical world some depth.
this is what you came here for, isn't it?
I do like that Stone character just because he looks so snobby all the time. Yeah, I'm the Knowledge
To
Stone.
rescue the heartbroken,
And he's another guy I never ever use.
I did just to watch his face.
I will give you those as well.
Thank you so much.
Look how much this tree gives you, and that's more than Mr. Trippy ever gives you.
Such a well-mannered child.
I give you my time, man.
And the funny thing is, you can tell the tree doesn't even like Mr. Drippy.
Backface.
See?
Some things are unchanging as the forest. No matter.
And now you got
Yeah,
your
best be on
locket, so
your
now
way.
you can actually utilize spells to
boy.
help the people with their broken
You
hearts,
must come and see me from time to time. And tell me of your travels.
which you never really do.
Forward to hearing of your
No.
progress.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Let's be off, shall we? Time to head back to Ding Dong Dell and mend a
I love the
broken heart.
towns, because a lot of times there could be a lot of just emphasis to not put much creativity in your locations, but when we get to the towns, they're really cool places. I just like looking around. They have this kind of all the theme and feel. And I love that look on the tree's face right now. It looks really perplexed and shocked. Look at that face.
He said for us to come back and tell us about his travels. You can't actually do that every time you, say, finished a dungeon or what have you. You can go back to Old Father Oak and tell him the story, and he will give you stuff. Just because you told him a story. And you can do this all the way through the game.
He's the most generous bastard of all of them.
Unfortunately, traveling doesn't become easy until, say, halfway through the game. So it's not a priority.
Just like, and it's again comparing to Tales here, it tries to avoid your ability to move around a lot, so you're kind of focused on the task at hand. But later in the game, you get the ability to kind of travel wherever the heck you want, and that just kind of grows as it goes along. So at this point, it's kind of tough to go and visit them, especially when you go later down the line. But then when you start getting the ability to fast travel and all these kind of things like that, it's great.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes you just don't deal with level grinding these same enemies over and over again, but you definitely want to take the time to do it, because you'll sometimes go to some main quest areas and you'll just run into these just simple minions that'll beat the crap out of you.
I had gotten to a point in one specific dungeon, little nearer the end of the game. I think I'd actually gone out of order, the intended order, and I went in there and got my ass kicked. So I grinded for just hours on these little enemies, made it through the dungeon finally. Then I went back to what I think was a dungeon intended for you, because you can go into these three out of order as you want, and I murdered
yeah.
everything.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, fuck that place.
I think, yeah, I know what you mean. At least we're not going to make you watch level grinding.
No. I do plenty of it, just you don't need to watch it.
It's about as fun as it sounds. Unless there's some funny moment.
Yeah, like if I completely rape a monster, I'll show that.
Literally and figuratively. Maybe not even in that order.
We're looking for ways to get banned from YouTube.
By God, we're going to get there.